What is up? And I want to talk about more Walking Dead, of course, but I want to talk about my top 5 favourite slash best episodes that have ever happened in The Walking Dead. We're only classing Walking Dead, no Fear, because Fear would be on here for a certain reason. The end of Chris, but we're just doing The Walking Dead, okay? So, in 5th place, I'm going to have to say, it's the pilot, Days Gone By. Season 1, Episode 1. Reason why? This episode started the whole thing. This episode has so much intrigue. This is literally your introduction to The Walking Dead. Like, you have so much mystery and questions in this. Like, you have a character called Rick. You meet Rick for the first time. He wakes up. You meet Morgan, who's a solid character. And it's him about trying to find his family. And it literally ends in a tank. Okay, that's just literally the broadness of the story. But this episode is very well paced and it's really fun to watch. I really like this episode just because of how it just introduced you to the world. It's just so good. Now in 4th place, this episode isn't much of a shocker. And I say it's The Grove, Season 4, Episode 14. I have one sentence that will sell this episode, and that's why it's on this list. Look at the flowers. This is one of the best moments in The Walking Dead's entire show's run. And it makes the episode, this whole build-up, and like, you have child actors in this episode, which could ruin the episode, but they are great child actors. And it's a very Carol and Tyrese focused episode, which used to be my favourite characters, those two. And this episode deserves to be on this list because it is amazing. This episode has so much good, like, slow build to that big moment. And just because that moment is so good, I'm going to put the entire episode on this list. Now, number 3 is going to be another Season 4 episode, because Season 4 is one of the best seasons of all time. Season 4, Episode 8, Too Far Gone. This is the end of the Governor arc. This episode I quite like because you have quite a bit of deaths, which are always bonuses, and you get to see how Rick has changed, because this is the Governor and Rick's final confrontation, and it's great. I really like the acting. It's so much fun, and it's Herschel. He's my favourite character. This is his final episode, where Rick has shown how much he changed, where he's like, instead of wanting to kill the Governor, he wants to live with the Governor. The Governor's like, liar, and slices Herschel's like throat, and it's one of the best moments. It is so good, and I think it makes the episode. The fighting at the end was amazing. They have a tank. They completely destroy that prison, but it's absolutely amazing. Now at number 2 is, I'm just gonna say, Rick's final episode, Season 9, Episode 5, What Comes After. And the reason why it's the second best episode of all time, it is Rick's final episode, and it is so amazing and so well written. Okay, it is such a good story. Okay, we get to see have a very good final send-off to Rick Grimes. It's a very well written episode, and it's very emotional, because we know he doesn't die, but it was so emotional. This episode has you sit on the end of your seat for the entire run, just because you want to see how Rick survives one final, like, danger. You see how Rick gets out of it, and he doesn't get out of it that well, which is amazing. I quite liked this just because how good they got rid of Rick Grimes, and it makes so much sense. Instead of just kind of having him do a Carl Grimes get ruined on his last episode, he goes out with a bang, and it really makes the episode. Now at number 1 is my favourite episode and best of all time, and this is The Calm Before, Season 9, Episode 15. Reason why? It's the fair that we've been waiting all season to see. The fair that they built up all season. And this is The Walking Dead's answer to the Red Wedding from the Game of Thrones. And it's just as bloody and just as great. There is so much tension in it because you're trying to figure out who's going to be on the spikes, whose heads are next, as there's Alpha sneaking around the fair, choosing her victims, and characters disappear off camera for a bit. And you don't know, if you didn't know the comics, it is even more better, because it's even more shocking just to have that big moment right at the end, where everyone goes up on that hill, and you see everyone's faces all shocked, and you're like, oh no. What are they looking at? And then it pans over and you're like, okay, stranger. And then it's the big ones where you get Enif, you're like, what the hell? And it cuts back to someone in the fair looking for him. and then it goes to someone else, Tara, the leader of Hilltop, and then you have people going, hey, where's the leader? And then the final one, oh, it's one of the best moments ever. It's Carol's face, and Daryl's crying and screaming for her not to look, and you're like, oh god, did they kill Ezekiel? Then it shows Ezekiel, and it turns out they killed off her son, Henry, and it makes the episode. This is like the best episode because of the build-up, and then the ending is just so good. But that is my opinion of the top 5 best episodes ever of The Walking Dead. What do you think? Do you agree with all 5, or do you think some shouldn't be here? Please tell me, and tell me what you think are your top 5 best. I'd like to know. Talk to you later.